Hell's Angels' top 9 most disturbing moments in court. Hell's Angels is the second name of violence, and that's what its members are renowned for. Previously, we have covered a lot of Hell's Angels' notorious members in detail, but today we have brought you the 9 most disturbing Hell's Angels moments in court. Stephen Sanders. Starting off with Stephen Sanders, a former Hell's Angels chapter commander in San Diego, who found himself facing a series of criminal activities. He faced a litany of charges, including kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, robbery, and soliciting murder.
3 months after the crime, officials have arrested and indicted 17 members on allegations including assault, hate crimes, accessory after the fact, and 1 charge of attempted murder against this man.
Sanders was ultimately sentenced to more than 20 years in state prison, a consequence of his extensive criminal involvement. One of the most shocking aspects of this case was his alleged attempt to have witnesses and investigators assassinated. This disturbing revelation came in connection with the case against him that involved the heinous crimes of kidnapping and torture. Sanders also pled guilty to counts of assault with a deadly weapon, which were related to a brutal assault on revelers in Pacific Beach. Sanders claimed that he felt pressured to plead guilty, fearing severe punishment if found guilty at trial. Despite his actions, he maintained that the Hells Angels were not a violent street gang, a stance his attorney attempted to reinforce by seeking to withdraw his guilty plea based on fresh witness testimony. Nevertheless, the court rejected this petition, and Sanders' sentencing was seen as a significant win for law enforcement, putting an end to his reign of violence against San Diego residents. Jay Witt. Next we have Jay Witt, a Hells Angels member whose case was centered around the tragic death of William Furlong. Witt, aged 47 at the time, faced charges of second-degree murder and using a handgun to commit a crime. What made this case particularly intriguing was the chain of events leading up to Furlong's demise. Surveillance footage played a pivotal role in the investigation. It showed Witt and his girlfriend entering a clubhouse late at night and leaving early in the morning. The footage captured them carrying a plastic bag and meticulously cleaning the door and door handles before departing in a Chevy Cruze with Virginia license plates. Their subsequent actions included a stop at a petrol station and a drive to Harlan, Iowa. Detectives uncovered Furlong's lifeless body, positioned face up next to the clubhouse's bar area, further intensifying suspicions about Witt's involvement. Despite Witt entering a plea of not guilty to all charges, the evidence painted a compelling narrative of his activities that fateful night, ultimately leading to a complex legal battle. Adam Lee. In 2011, the Hells Angels made headlines with a gruesome triple murder that sent shockwaves around the world. The mastermind behind this brutal act was Adam Lee.
You upon your oath do say that the defendant is guilty of murder in the first...
Arguably one of the most notorious members in the history of the club. Alongside him were his accomplices, David Chowlu and Caius Vevis. The victims of this heinous crime were David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell. What makes this case particularly chilling is the sheer brutality of the murder. After gunning down their victims, the perpetrators went a step further by dismembering the bodies and packing them into plastic bags. It took law enforcement an agonizing 13 days to piece together the grim puzzle and discover the gruesome remains. Adam Lee, often considered the ringleader, was handed down a life sentence for his role in this triple murder. It's important to note that his unwavering denial of prosecutorial misconduct and his desire for a new trial kept the case in the public eye, drawing significant media attention. The Berkshire County triple murder of 2011 serves as a chilling reminder of the lengths some Hells Angels members are willing to go to protect their criminal interests. Neil Cantrell. The fourth incident involved Neil Cantrell and his ruthless pursuit of control over illegal cannabis cultivation. At the center of this clash was Robert Hull, who abruptly decided to halt his involvement in the illicit cannabis trade. Unfortunately, Cantrell, known for his violent tendencies, didn't take this change lightly. Cantrell's rage extended beyond just him. It encompassed his associates, including his son, Stephen. Together, they orchestrated a vicious attack on Hull, determined to bend him to their will. Their intention was clear. They wanted everything on their terms, and Hull's decision to quit the cannabis business did not align with their agenda. Ultimately, law enforcement intervened, apprehending Cantrell, Stephan, and others involved in the assault. Neil Cantrell was sentenced to a decade behind bars, despite being 62 years old at the time. The severity of the punishment underlies the gravity of the crime. This case serves as a stark example of how the Hells Angels are willing to resort to violence to maintain their criminal enterprises. Emery Pitt Martin. Next we have Emery Pitt Martin, known by the nickname Pitt Martin, who emerged as a prominent figure in the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. His notoriety was linked to his involvement in a large-scale cocaine trafficking operation, which came under the radar of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. Pitt Martin leveraged his position within the club to traffic substantial quantities of cocaine. His activities included facilitating transactions among buyers and sellers with shared interests. To evade law enforcement, he employed encrypted communication channels, well aware of the risks associated with this illicit trade. In 2018, Martin's criminal activities caught up with him when he was arrested as a part of an RCMP investigation into the Hells Angels. The court, recognizing the seriousness of his offenses, sentenced him to a staggering 15 years in prison. Remarkably, Martin had already spent nearly 2 decades behind bars for various offenses during different periods of his life. Even though Pitt Martin attempted to take preventative measures to avoid detection, his conviction serves as a stark reminder that the law eventually catches up. David Giles' 18-year sentence. Among the many Hells Angels members entangled in a web of criminal activities, David Giles stands out as another notorious figure. His criminal record was a testament to his consistent involvement in illicit activities, frequently bringing him into the crosshairs of law enforcement. However, it was a particular case that earned David Giles an 18-year prison sentence, making it the longest jail term ever imposed on a Hells Angels member at the time. His arrest stemmed from his participation in an international cocaine conspiracy, an offense that drew the ire of the court. Notably, Giles faced this lengthy sentence at the age of 66, a time in life when most people would expect to be enjoying their retirement years. Despite his deteriorating health, the court deemed his actions deserving of such severe punishment. The nature of Giles' criminal actions and his clear intention to establish this enterprise as a long-term business venture played pivotal roles in his sentencing. It's worth noting that he spent 7 years behind bars during the pre-trial period, which the court took into account when issuing the sentence. Norman Cox and Rob Thomas's homicide. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club has a reputation for violence, and the case of Norman Cox and Rob Thomas, a father-son duo, exemplifies the chilling brutality associated with the club. This tragic incident unfolded when Dane Phillips, a concerned father, attempted to mediate a dispute involving his 2 sons and 2 teenagers with Hells Angels affiliations. Phillips, acting as a peacemaker, could not have anticipated the horrifying outcome of his intervention. The Hells Angels connected teenagers, along with Cox and Thomas, unleashed a vicious attack on Phillips, wielding a baseball bat and a hammer. Shockingly, Phillips' own sons were forced to witness the brutal assault on their beloved father. The intention behind this merciless act was evident. They sought not merely to harm Phillips, but to kill him. Their savage assault, punctuated by repeated blows with the baseball bat, left no room for doubt about their lethal intent. The tragedy, which unfolded in June 2011, sent shockwaves across the world, highlighting the far-reaching influence of the Hells Angels. It served as a grim reminder that anyone crossing paths with a Hells Angels member could be risking their life. Cox and Thomas were eventually sentenced to 12 years in prison, and their actions were characterized by the court as a clear-cut case of homicide rather than a mere fight. This case sheds light on the ruthless nature of certain Hells Angels members, whose propensity for violence knows no bounds, even when faced with a peacemaker trying to resolve a dispute. The loss of Dane Phillips was a stark testament to the brutal reality of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Lysander R. At 8th spot, we have the incident that unfolded in the Amsterdam courtroom, and it was a gripping climax to a trial that had been capturing the nation's attention. The trial involved the infamous Haarlem's Hells Angels, a motorcycle club with a dark and notorious history in the Netherlands. The Harlem's Hells Angels had a complex history, with two factions within the club, an older generation with a more laid-back approach, and a younger, more ruthless group eager to exert power. This generational divide had caused internal friction and led to the expulsion of members who refused to embrace the harder, more violent line set by their leader, Lysander. The roots of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club in the Netherlands trace back to the 1970s, initially seen as a part of a counterculture movement. However, over time, they became associated with criminal activities, including drug trafficking, extortion, violence, and clashes with rival motorcycle clubs. The shift in leadership and an influx of younger, more aggressive members contributed to this transformation. The incident that led to the trial occurred in 2015 when Lysander and his associates orchestrated an arson attack targeting the mayor of Haarlem. Fortunately, the mayor survived, but it was later revealed that the Hells Angels were behind the attack. During the trial, tension escalated to the point where violence seemed imminent, and Lysander himself unleashed his fury upon the judge, creating chaos in the courtroom. The trial concluded with severe sentences handed down to the accused, including Lysander, who received 9 years in prison. This trial exposed the inner workings of the infamous motorcycle club and resulted in the ban of all Hells Angels chapters in the Netherlands. It also shed light on the challenges law enforcement faces when dealing with secretive and fiercely loyal criminal organizations like the Hells Angels. Scott Jr. Erickson. Lastly, we have got a wild card entry, a guy who's not from Hells Angels, but he must be included in this list. No one but Scott Jr. Erickson. His journey into the world of the motorcycle club is a captivating story of loyalty, brotherhood, and a life lived on the edge. His involvement with the club began innocently enough, with a chance encounter as a teenager, setting the stage for a life that would be forever entwined with the Mongols. Junior's upbringing in San Diego, despite being in a loving family, had its share of teenage misadventures. However, it was that fateful day by the lake when he saw a Mongols biker that sparked his fascination with the outlaw lifestyle. His dream of owning a Harley-Davidson eventually led him to the club, and he quickly became a trusted associate, willing to do whatever it took to support his newfound brothers. Junior's journey from prospect to full-patched member was marked by dedication and a fierce commitment to the club's values. He wasn't afraid to stand up for the Mongols, even if it meant using his fists. His loyalty was put to the test when he found himself involved in a fatal altercation with the Hells Angels member. This incident led to arrests and prison sentences for him and his club brothers. Upon his release, Junior took on leadership roles within the Mongols, eventually becoming the youngest national president in the club's history. Under his leadership, the Mongols expanded significantly, gaining notoriety and respect in the outlaw biker community. His fearless approach to defending the club solidified his reputation. However, the outlaw life also brought its share of legal troubles. Junior's arrest and subsequent wrongful conviction shed light on the challenges he faced, but his determination to clear his name ultimately led to his release. Throughout his tumultuous journey, Junior managed to capture his experiences in 2 books, The Unknown Mongol and The Unknown Mongol 2, offering readers a glimpse into the world of outlaw bikers. After his release, he relocated in Utah, started a Mongols chapter, and got married. Today, Scott Jr. Erickson's name is synonymous with the Mongols Motorcycle Club. His dedication to the club, his brothers, and the entire Mongols nation has left an indelible mark on the club's history. His story serves as a testament to the enduring bonds of brotherhood and the sacrifices made in the pursuit of a way of life that defies convention. That was it for today. Hopefully you liked it. Make sure you give it a like, and don't forget to comment which member captivated you the most and why.